And joining us on another SpiceWorks partner webinar, VoIP, Real Deployment Stories from the Field, brought to you by 8x8. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that this webinar is being recorded, and if you have to step away for any reason, you will get an email with a link to the video in about a week. Also, there's a Q&A box on your screen to the left. I encourage you to submit your questions at any time during the presentation. We'll get to those questions at the end via a verbal Q&A, but if your question isn't addressed live, 8x8 will be able to follow up with you. So now that all our housekeeping is done, I'd like to introduce our presenters. William Stern, Managing Director for Bizmatics. James Metzger, William is with Bank of Cardiff. James Metzger, Marketing Director with Bizmatics. And also we have David Leach, 8x8 Business Communications Consultant. So David, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, William and James, for joining us on the webinar today. You guys have some great stories to share with us today, and as the title of the webinar reflects there, stories from the field, what's really happening out there in the world. And what's interesting is that James with Bizmatics, you guys are fairly new to the world of voice over IP in the cloud, and William has been in this space for quite some time. And so has a little different perspective there. And so what's nice about today's webinars, we'll be able to get insights from both of those angles there as we go through this. So voice over IP real deployment stories, that's what the conversation is about. Really the conversation is about business objectives. This is not technology for technology's sake, but technology that helps the business achieve core business objectives such as revenue growth, customer satisfaction increased employee retention, and controlling your costs. And the reason we're talking about this is really there are substantial problems with existing traditional PBXs out there. This is a list of top 10 issues that when I'm talking to people, these issues come up over and over and over again. And our conversation today is really helping you alleviate these issues, overcome these issues, and get beyond them. And so with that, what I would like to do is turn the conversation towards Bizmatics. And James, if you could tell us a little bit about Bizmatics, and then we'll go into the story here a little bit. So what is Bizmatics? What do you guys do?
Well, David, Bizmatics is an electronic health record software providing company. We work in a space that is the hub of a small practice or specialty medical office's ability to manage the ingress and egress of patients through their entire system, from making the appointment all the way to the back end and billing. So throughout that process, the doctor's office is going to interact with our software quite deeply, and on occasion they do need to contact us by phone in order to have the conversation with us about using the software.
And this is really a timely event that we're having this conversation today, because tell us a little bit about what's changing in the next short period.
Yeah, in the next 24 hours, the health world in the U.S. is going to go through one of the more dramatic IT upgrades that it's undergone since really healthcare became computerized. So it's a rollover called ICD-10. This is a World Health Organization database that codifies medical conditions. Currently, through today, end of today, billing was done on the ICD-9 database. Tomorrow that changes to ICD-10, and this is going to change this coding database from 15,000 items to 65,000 items. So tomorrow when our users log into the application, they're going to get a welcome saying, hey, you're on ICD-10 now, and everything is going to the rubber's going to hit the road in terms of we're going to find out how well prepared we are.
Because this is all about billing from a medical perspective. Yeah, that's going to make an impact.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something we're going to need to have the ultimate seamless rollover. And it's important to not just our practices, but to all of us as, U.S. citizens in the system. Next time you go to your doctor, you hopefully won't notice anything different, but you might see in the coding of your condition a different kind of description. There's a lot of different descriptions in this new database that no one's seen before, and we kind of play on it. These cartoons that you see in the slides showcase some of the new codes that we have. So on the slide we're seeing now, we have a new code for struck by other sports footwear. So we're all set with that in our system now. If any ballerinas go around kicking anybody in the head,
we're set.
We've got a code for that.
Excellent, excellent. That's brilliant. Now, from a communications perspective, what are some of the challenges that Bizmatics was facing that caused you to turn to the communications in the cloud world?
Yeah, so Bizmatics did not have a robust phone system to support their support queue. And some of the things that might be taken for standard at a software company in the support world were lacking. And as our company has grown, it's gotten to the point where we've needed these features. And what we were looking to support our customers with, we found that 8x8 has gone above and beyond. So we've been able to look at reports regarding abandoned transactions, login times of our agents, call rejections, all kinds of different metrics that we can look at on a per agent basis. And we can aggregate this data in reports from 8x8 that allow us to better put our resources in our various call centers when we've got peak call volume that we may or may not have been able to predict with our previous system that didn't have these features.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And considering you've got multiple locations, you've got at least 3 major contact center locations.
Yeah.
And being able to unify communications across that and have that as a single operating unit's got a very powerful advantage, I would think.
Yeah, as a call progresses from a user through our call centers, as we go from an entry-level support up through tiers 1 and 2 into a developer-level support, we are now able to completely trace these calls and really look at the interaction of the call system from the user's perspective. And for us, this is a huge improvement because we're able to review really how we're best supporting our customers and being able to monitor exactly what happens on the phone in a data-driven way is something that's going to help us out tremendously.
And key point there that I picked up on is from a user's perspective. It's not from Bizmatics' perspective. It's
right.
From the person, the company, the doctor's office that you're facilitating, that you're serving there, which is huge. And that's really what business is really trying to do there, is serve your customers better, and 8x8 is helping you make that a reality, and that's nice.
Huge improvement.
Was that growth or the existence of multiple sites, is that from mergers and acquisitions, growth, combination thereof?
All growth. So
nice.
Bizmatics, a monolith of the company. It's grown organically. It's a privately held company, and we've just needed to add call centers as our customer base has grown. We've added call centers based on our different product segments. So as I mentioned before, you've got the health record management, which happens in the practice, and then on the far end of the transactions, you've got a revenue cycle management aspect of managing the business of a doctor's practice. So we have a distinct call center that's set up specifically for different aspects of our product. And customers might call in to speak with, any different phase of that,
Sure.
product interaction. And for us to be able to then iterate our product development based on input or data we're gathering from the customer calls is a very easy way for us to confirm that we're developing the product the way that satisfies the customer needs as well.
And you've got the flexibility if the customer calls for multiple purposes to
right.
ease that transition without losing any of the quality or context of the transaction that's going on.
Correct, absolutely. And this shows up for us for the support managers, the color coding of the calls, and being able to monitor everything in what I look at as a relatively intuitive way for a fairly complex transaction set.
Nice, excellent. And so scalability is an important aspect for you there because you are a high-growth company. So from a decision criteria perspective, tell us a little bit about the process you went through and what were the key attributes, aspects of the communication service that were are really important for you in making your choice in vendors and solutions?
So we have a support VP who's new to the business, Andre, and he had previous experience with the 8x8 predecessing company.
Gotcha.
So he had experience that pointed him towards 8x8 initially.
Gotcha.
And so 8x8 already had a warm start, but he did a complete due diligence across the board. And what he found that was in terms of pricing and features and what we needed to get out of it, 8x8 was the winner. So his previous experience with the software and how well it operated and how well it was supported, in addition to new developments and new features and the price point, 8x8 wins.
So now that's interesting. So you looked at the other players out there and did your comparison there. You are a technology company.
Right.
You are a technology company that delivers services in the cloud, and yet as a technology company, communications technology is not your specialty, is not your practice.
Correct.
And it was important to you, and you recognized early in that process, it sounds like, that we don't want to be the ones building a solution or buying a solution, owning the solution. We want to use the solution.
Right. We're quite busy wrestling with issues like the CD10 rollover. And so the idea of, building our own, I'm sure crossed some engineers' mind at some point, but, we're looking for an out-of-the-box, get it done, support people tomorrow kind of situation, and that's what 8x8 provided for us.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And so how's it working out? Where are we today? Now we've got it in play. It's operating across your business.
So we're already getting the kind of analytic feedback that we were hoping for, and we are already verifying the aspects of our application development that we want verified through the support queue, as well as the productivity of our support agents. So Andre is able to make decisions with regard to where to put more resources, and I don't think anything too unexpected come up there, but just having the data on hand to confirm that the way we're thinking about things is the right way to approach it is in itself a huge, huge assistance.
And from an administration perspective, I know you don't have to personally get involved with the administration of the system, but in your conversations with the folks that do, did you gain any particular insights about how that has changed, evolved, improved, or what's different in that world?
So I think their ability to, we just added an 800 number. And from what I understand from the support folks, that implementing that 800 number has been a huge success. And I'm sure that part of the credit goes into the ease of being able to plug that number in throughout the system with the 8x8 software. So configuration, ease of management, all those different pieces are. Our support folks have a new, super hot rod car, and they love driving it around.
Who wouldn't like that, right?
Yeah.
And one of the key things there, key factors I just want to point out is you are administering your system in-house. It's all done in-house. You don't have to pay somebody else to do that.
Correct. We were in that trap before, and I know that they're very happy to be able to make the changes they want to make when they want to make them, and move forward at the speed of thought as opposed to the speed of the third party billing us for their services.
And it didn't require any sophisticated level of programming knowledge or certifications. It's basically
regular old people using the system. And speaking of things that didn't have to change, we did not have to go through a major hardware upgrade either. So because it's a cloud-based solution and it's interoperable throughout the hardware that we had existing, we were able to roll into this 8x8 system without a lot of hardware expense as well.
At your schedule, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's, from what I understand, this has been one of the fastest implementations of a new system that I've seen. I mean, typically, when I'm looking at an enterprise system for anything, they're always talking about 9 months, 18 months, something like that. And from what I know, this was done very, very quickly within a month or two. So going from where we wanted to be to where we're happily now make the decision and get it done. It's worked well.
Yeah, and that month or two was really from the start of discussions to we got it running.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is a wonderful conversation. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so there's the perspective from a new to the voice over IP world, and really James is describing Dismatic's use of the 8x8 contact center, virtual contact center. And now what I want to do is turn the conversation over to William Stern from Bank of Cardiff, who has been using a voice over IP solution from 8x8 since, well, for several years now. And as we're transitioning here, I just want to make it clear that both William and James are here to handle questions as we go through the session. So as we get through the conversation here, we do want to hear from you. So post your questions, and we'll do our best to make sure that we address all those questions as we're going through the session. And so William, welcome, and thank you for being there. And let's talk a little bit now about Bank of Cardiff. Tell us a little bit about Bank of Cardiff and how your journey has started, and we'll get into the communications aspects of that as well.
All right, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me both to the SpiceWorks network and David with 8x8. We are a huge supporter of VoIP technology, and we're an early adopter. But before I get to all of that, I'll explain a little bit about what Bank of Cardiff does and who we are. Bank of Cardiff is a privately held company. We're not public. And we, because we're not public, maybe we're able to be early adopters of technology when it's not maybe stable enough for public consumption. But we provide, working capital to medium-sized businesses with revenue between, I want to say, 5 and 50 million. We also provide equipment-based financing and leasing. So those are the two primary revenue drivers. We needed to, as technology was changing, we needed to marry ourselves to a phone system that would allow for scalability as our company grew. We started out with 8x8 about 6 years ago.
And William, because of your background there and what Bank of Cardiff is all about, I mean, providing financing for capital equipment, you have a very interesting perspective, I think an enlightening perspective on the whole conversation about when is it practical, when does it make sense for a business to go out and procure capital equipment for the business. When is that germane to what you do versus nice to have or ancillary or not really practical? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, because we're an equipment-based finance company, we have been lending money for the past, 12, 15 years to, small, medium-sized businesses that are looking to finance or lease an enterprise phone system. And believe it or not, it's really almost a conflict of interest because the representatives that are procuring the financing and setting it up, both with the vendor that's selling the phone system, right, and the customer who's going to be financing the system, that agent, if you want to call them that, they're using an 8x8 system, a system that's managed in the cloud for us, where we don't have that fancy, bells and whistles look, right? We don't have this on-premise phone system with all these blinking lights, and so we can't speak to whether or not this piece of equipment is actually going to bring them the ROA that they're hoping for, but we kind of just, it's mum's the word, and we don't necessarily say, to the contrary, to the customer or to the vendor, like, hey, what you're selling or what you're buying we don't necessarily agree with. If we're offline and we're talking to a customer about the asset and the vendor's not on the line, and they ask us for our opinion, we are always huge supporters of them taking a look at a cloud-based phone system. And sometimes if they do ask, yeah, we actually do bring up the fact that we're with 8x8, we're an early adopter, we've been with them for a long time, and that we're extremely happy with the level of service, and that they might want to investigate that type of cloud-based phone system that it's that's managed for them.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And tell us a little bit about, I know this was a while back now, but you were deeply involved in the decision process. Tell us a little bit about some of the communications challenges prior to moving towards the 8x8 cloud.
Yeah, so when we first started, I think it was 2003 when we first opened our doors, we were using a phone system that was managed on-prem. I don't even know if VoIP existed back then. And we started to work with offshore call centers. And like James was describing how they have call centers scattered throughout the United States, we hadn't yet grown to that. And so we were looking for outside vendors to help us both with incoming and outbound phone efforts to prospects and customers. We looked to a VoIP system that was, like I said, offshore in the Philippines, and I want to say this was around, 2006 or 2007, and just the phone quality for VoIP wasn't there. And we would roll back the tapes and listen to recordings of how an agent would do, and just be awestruck, taken aback on how poor the quality was. And the offshore communications companies would explain, well, it's not really our fault. It's not really the telecommunications equipment's fault. It's just, listen, the technology is just not there yet, but it makes sense for us to be an early adopter because it's so cost efficient. And so what we were having to do is we were having to balance out, well, their cost efficiency argument with our lack of quality, and maybe we weren't being engaging enough with the customer due to call quality issues, degradation of the phone line, dropped calls and such, and so we were desperate to find another solution, and we were on. This is a funny story, but we were on a Southwest Airlines flight, and in your seat back there's a magazine. I forget the name of the Southwest Airlines magazine, but we flipped through the whole thing from start to finish while I was on a flight with another director. And we both landed on an ad that was probably 1 inch by 1 inch, and it said 8x8, cloud-based phone system management for small businesses. And yeah, I mean, we're not a small business, but it intrigued us, so we ripped out that little ad, put it in our wallet, and I think on Monday morning we called 8x8 and wanted to know what they were all about.
I always wondered whether those ads worked or not.
Yeah, I guess for us they did. 6 years we've been with you guys, so
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with serendipitously falling upon that ad at maybe the second to last page of a Southwest Airlines mag.
So now I heard you talk about call quality being a major important factor for you. I heard you talk about international dialing and multi-site operations there as you've grown, and by the time you were in this process, you were multi-site. Tell us about your decision criteria and the process you went through to come to the 8x8 cloud.
Yeah, okay. So, we have a number of different reasons for using a cloud-based phone system. One being that it's cost-effective. Two, that it's managed in the cloud and you don't have to necessarily have a fleet of IT guys that just stare at, a phone room and wondering if, all the blinking lights are indicating success or failure. We have an army of IT people, but I think it's better to have this managed by a company that specializes in it, as opposed to, the manager for the telephone room is out sick today and we don't have enough redundancy. We are not unlike Bismatics, right, as James was saying, I mean, he's a technology company. We're not a technology company, we're a finance company, and we don't want to masquerade as something other than who we are. So, when we switched from, an on-premise phone system to a cloud-based system with 8x8, it was really a cost of ownership advantage for us because they just made it too easy. Not only does 8x8 sell phone service, but they sell the phones. They sell toll-free numbers and local numbers and vanity numbers. And again, right, the phone service is what they specialize in, but they just have, it's too easy. They have all these ancillary items that make it just a no-brainer decision to switch to them. Now, the international call quality, as David was saying with 8x8, was a huge issue for us because we had experienced it with the outsource or offshore Filipino call center. When the market got, so 2008, when the market got squirrely, the financial services market, and basically, destroyed the worldwide economy, we realized that both paying a company offshore to manage our customers probably wasn't a good idea, and then also that using somebody else on-prem VoIP system where we don't know what type of technology they're using was probably a bad idea. So that drove us to start our own call center in Latin America. We did that with 8x8's help. And believe it or not, it's as simple as going online, clicking 3 buttons, ordering 5 new phone lines, them, overnighting the phones to you, plugging the phone in with a Cat6 network cable, turning it on, hitting 5 buttons, and the phone is live. And so, it's the cost of ownership, that was a huge advantage. Having 8x8 manage it and manage how often it's up versus how often it's down was a huge issue. The DIY aspect, I'd love to speak about that if I could. Do we have enough time?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So our company is what some may call a fintech company. This is a new term, but essentially it's, there's a huge amount of small business or medium-sized business owners that were left out hanging out to dry by large banks and financial institutions following the economic malaise of 2008. And while the larger banks ignore them, companies like us, or fintech companies, have stepped up to the plate with customized financial solutions that make it easy for them to acquire the funds or the equipment that they need. And in doing so, we have to do a lot of marketing to capture, to alert these small, medium-sized businesses that they're not underbanked or that they're not sort of ostracized from the finance community. So welcoming them back in with open arms was an instrument that was accomplished with direct mail. And we had never done direct mail before, but we were with 8x8. And so the idea was, okay, well, how do we do it? And so, it was a lot, you would think it would be like, you were blindfolded and somebody spins you around, puts a bat in your hand and asks you to hit the piñata, right? Well, for us in 8x8, it wasn't like that at all. We actually had a rep in San Jose who was very experienced with call campaigns, and they helped us set it up once. And it was kind of like that Ronco Food Electric rotisserie or whatever it's called, the set it and forget it. For us, they showed it to us once insofar as how to set up a call campaign, and I don't think they ever had to show us again. And we're talking setting up ring groups with ease, putting people on a call campaign or removing them from the call campaign depending on shifts or capabilities, knowing who's on a campaign and who's off in real time, setting up messaging on hold, voicemails, and that types of thing. I mean, with clicks of buttons. For a ring group, you want a messaging on hold message today to say something. Well, in 5 hours, if you needed to say something else, it's uploading an MP3 to the cloud, hitting submit, and then you test the line, you call it, you hit that ring group selection. What do you know? The messaging on hold's there. And so that daily reporting on calls and call length with attributes on who called in, who called out, length of call. It just helped us manage how each individual direct mail campaign was faring in a live format, which for us, it's invaluable. We had never tried direct mail, and I got to say, it's like 8x8 was vested in that interest, which was it was an amazing thing. And 6 years later, we're still doing it.
It's interesting. One of the things that just comes across to me, and I wasn't necessarily expecting this, but both of you are representing your visionary companies, addressing needs that are real and current. They're new needs. You're addressing there as a fintech company, really addressing the needs of smaller, medium-sized businesses to access financing the way they need to in order to address new opportunities out there in the market, which are evolving and transitioning all the time. And James, with Bizmatics, you guys are certainly addressing the increasing complexity of healthcare in the U.S. system with just an amazing array of solutions there that streamline that whole process for the customers, of which there are millions who need that type of a service. And that's just.
Yeah, can you guys still hear me? Did we lose you guys? Oh, you can still hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Real quick, do we have time? I just wanted to speak about, this is William from the Bank of Cardiff still. I just wanted to hit just a few more points about sort of what our takeaway is by switching to a cloud-based phone system that's managed off-prem by a company like 8x8. Do we have time?
Yes, we definitely have time.
Okay. I just wanted to say that one of the best things about 8x8, both as a phone vendor and a phone service company, is the unified communications aspect. We have representatives all over the world. In addition to them being stationed in an office, they're also traveling. And I just wanted to make one point to all those IT guys out there that are wondering whether or not they're going to be able to move forward with a cloud-based phone system like 8x8 versus running one in-house, and how the costs stack up. And I just want to say, when we stacked 8x8 up against all of their peers in the marketplace, what we noticed was with the competitor companies, we had to pay per license. And what I don't mean is that you had to pay per seat, but instead you had to pay per license. So if you had a desktop phone, that was a license. If you had a soft phone feature on the computer, that was a license. If you had a phone app feature on your cell phone, that was a license. And so before all was said and done, each month the fee for one user was 3 licenses, not including the sort of all-you-can-eat aspect or whatever of your phone plan. You're spending a few $100s per seat without necessarily taking into consideration the hardware costs and then the management costs on-prem. So with 8x8, you don't have that, right? You don't have a per license or a per app fee, and we absolutely love that because while people are traveling, they're able to pop up the 8x8 soft phone on their laptop and make a call with a headset. At the same time, if they're running to a trade show or to a client meeting, and if they have to make an outbound phone call, that phone call they make has an outbound caller ID of their actual desk phone. And if they're taking a phone call on their 8x8 app from a customer, a vendor, they're able to take the call with the phone app, just as they would with their own cell phone. And so privacy is maintained. International reach, people can be reached at any time, and it's just so easy to manage. You shut the deck on your laptop, the soft phone turns off, right? You're not at your phone at your desk. There's no call forwarding button to hit. It just rings to all devices. You pick it up on the cell if you're out of the office. So it's just, if I was going to use just a couple of words to describe our perspective on 8x8, I would just say agile and always up.
Excellent, William. This is Angela on the line. David is having some challenges right now. But I wanted to ask you an additional follow-up question to that. When you were going through the process of going hosted versus on-prem, what was your main reasoning for deciding, besides the ease of use of having it hosted, but were there concerns about, the quality or just not having the servers in-house to be able to have it, on-prem versus hosted. Were there any concerns about that, and what was your decision process in going through that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. I think the same worries, trepidations that we had when we started working alongside an offshore call center company, we had when we switched to 8x8. I mean, it was a roll of the dice. And I don't want to mislead any of the IT people in the SpiceWorks community that are listening to this call and just think, well, listen, day one we started with 8x8, we just turned off our on-prem phone system, turned off the PBX or whatever, and then turned on 8x8. It wasn't like that. It was definitely a, just like a regular relationship. It takes time to develop that trust between both companies. And I think with us, we were worried about, phone degradation, the call quality and call dropping, how often 8x8 servers were going to be up, were the reporting on the phone calls accurate. There were all these worries. And it was a gradual, okay, we're turning this phone off, we're adding an 8x8 phone at this seat. Okay, we're turning this phone off, we're adding 8x8. And so I want to say over 18 months, I think, we were able to switch most of our phone users over to 8x8. And, like I said, it was the agility and it was them being up all the time that ended up, sort of putting us to sleep and in a safe way and telling us that everything was going to be okay. It wasn't so much as a promise. It was that they had delivered on their mantra, right, which is we're always up, and it's an efficient way for you to manage your system. And I think, without laying off, technical people here, that were managing the phone system and saying goodbye to that, we were able to just move, people who had specialty in telephony management, getting them retrained and in a new technology and just moving them to a different department where they could learn more, and us being able to lean on, a publicly traded company like 8x8 that is always up and that specializes in managing a phone system, right? As I said, we're not a technology company, and we don't want to masquerade as one. We want someone to manage the phone system that does this on a daily basis, minute by minute, not somebody that can call in sick, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, he's back.
And Angela, are there additional questions out there?
Yes, just to kind of follow up along with that, we have a question from Eric who says, how did you go through the process of ensuring all voice quality is clear and crisp? Did you have to do any specific engineering to implement your systems? And then how does 8x8 handle internal calls that are from the same physical office?
I'm sorry, Angela, is that question is that for David with 8x8?
No, I think it's actually for you, William, and James. They're wanting to know about, did you do anything special to your infrastructure to ensure that you got high voice quality within your system? How is the voice quality compared to your previous system or something that's more traditional and on-prem system?
James, do you want to attack this first?
Well, I don't have too much to say about it except that the voice quality I've experienced through the system's been excellent. So I joined the company, Bizmatics, as they were midway through this transition, and I've only seen the benefits of being able to quickly reconfigure our IVR or being able to get the call routing to the right person through the self-management and self-configuration interfaces. So as far as the voice quality itself goes, and I'll say this too, I come from a background that's got a slight appreciation for audio quality as a filmmaker, and you can fool the eye, but you can't fool the ear. And I would just say, my experience on the phone system's been it's been fantastic. It's been, clear as a bell, and no concerns, and never entered my mind as far as the assessment goes. So I can only say thumbs up.
Yeah, and part of what enables 8x8 to do that is really we've got contracts with the leading carriers around the globe, over 25 different carriers that we're supporting. And our technology is built to where we're doing advanced route monitoring out there. So we've got over 500,000 probes out there, endpoints throughout the globe that are giving us a continuous stream of feedback. What's going on with this carrier? What's going on with that carrier? What about this region? What about that region? And through that analysis, real-time analysis of what's going on in the network, we're able to route calls as we detect issues, route calls away from those carriers to ensure that we're able to deliver the highest quality to our customers at all times. And from a customer's perspective, we just ensure that you have a network that's capable of handling the services and has quality of service enacted in your network routing.
This is William with the Bank of Cardiff. I would just add to what David and James had both said and say, specific to the question that was asked to the SpiceWorks, or from the SpiceWorks community. You said inbound traffic or inter-office traffic. That was one of the points of the call, right? Or to the question, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So like James from Bizmatics, Bank of Cardiff has offices around the globe. We have, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but Ohio, Indiana, Latin America, offices in California, and then in the UK. And for us, if we add a user to the 8x8 network, you dial an extension, and you're in London. And you want to bring somebody else on the call, you hit conference, and you dial an extension. You're not dialing, one and a country code and a 10-digit phone number. And so, just the user experience is just so simple. If I was to make sort of a comparison of two technology companies that I think are a lot alike, I would say that 8x8 is very much like Apple. Apple has unified communications with the iPhone, the iPad, the Apple TV, your MacBook. It's all unified. And if you miss a phone call on your phone, you notice it's on your iWatch, or you notice it's coming through on your iPad or something like that. And I just think that 8x8, whether they meant to or not, they're just pros with unified communications and making it easy on the user, and making it easy on the IT staff as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, William.
My pleasure.
So Dave, we have another question. They're wondering about what type of data lines are James and William using for the voice calls.
This is James from Bizmatics. I don't know our details on our pipe, so I would just quickly get out of the way. If David knows the details on Bank of Cardiff, I'm sure it was just basically whatever was set up according to the specs required by 8x8, but I don't have those specs. David, do you have yours? I'm sorry, William?
I don't know the specifics of what you've got set up there. However, MPLS is an option. You can support that. We can support that. It's not required. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to set up any specialized SIP trunks. You can just use your traditional high broadband pipe and support that with a quality of service router on the front end of that. And we can get you up and running. Typical bandwidth of a voice call is 30 kilobits per second. We can support the HD audio as well. That takes up to about 90 to 100 kilobits per second. So depending on the call traffic, the call load out there, the pipe size will be determining what you've got the ability to support out there.
I'm not a pro with this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, go ahead, William.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily an IT professional. I'm a director of a bank, but I can tell you that over the years, data quality has improved immensely. And I think when we first started with this, we were just using, your standard. I want to say we started out with this is prior to a T1 or anything like that. So we're just using, regular old internet that maybe would be a little bit faster than what you'd see at a house. And now, sort of as time elapsed, we went from, I want to say, to fiber to like a 2020 and a 2200 or something like that. But I don't think you need all that. We never experienced bandwidth issues, and I think, just to speak of the, sort of what I said, agile and up, two adjectives to describe 8x8. I would say I think 8x8's been down 2 times in 6 years that we've been with them, and it might even just be one. So.
So another question that we have is there 24/7 support for 8x8, or are there tier support 24/7 Monday to Friday? What has kind of been your experience, James and William, with when you've needed support from 8x8 achieving that?
James, you want to tackle that one first? If he's dropped off, I'm happy to kind of take the baton and run with it.
Would you go ahead and do that for me? Thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, with 24/7 support with 8x8, it's absolutely offered. Again, this is William with the Bank of Cardiff. When we first started out with 8x8, I want to say that we had support only during office hours, and as we upgraded our account, we got what's called, I think, Tier 2 support, where they're available off hours. So for us, being an international company, taking calls throughout the day, whether it's in Asia, in Europe, or North America, it was very important for us to have the support to go alongside the phone service. And so I want to say, in very short order, we grew to a Tier 2 support program where that 24/7 support was offered.
Fantastic. Thanks. Angela, do you have any more questions?
I do. So we have a few people online who are having the same kind of questions they're a little bit skeptical about going from an on-prem solution to a hosted solution. Like, they have a lot invested in their on-prem solution. Do either of you have any kind of feedback on, what is the challenges economically going from a on-prem to a hosted solution? And were either of you maybe doing a hybrid solution where you had both of them, even if it was for a small amount of time?
Yeah, James?
Yeah, I was going to pass to you for this one, William.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Absolutely. So again, this is William with the Bank of Cardiff. That's a great question. I call that cord cutting. And I laugh about it when I'm at conferences with other people. They're always asking what sort of phone service we use. At home I don't have cable TV, and a lot of people think I'm crazy because what do you do about sports? But apps fill in the blanks, right? Like milk between meals. And I think with 8x8, you've got a system where it's a company dedicated to phone service, and they make it super easy on you, but there's no price gouging, right? It's per user, it's not per license, and it's very affordable. I want to say, and I'm speaking off the top of my head, but it's like $40 per seat. And, they deliver the phone to you next day, and I think it's $99 for like an entry-level phone. So when you compare the costs, I think there's very little, if you're making a determination on which you should go for, from the outset, and you don't have an existing enterprise system, I think it's a no-brainer, right? It's very little money up front. You're not, for those companies that are enterprise systems that either offer a cloud-based, system or an on-prem system, but you've got to, purchase, hardware and that type of thing. I think, the comparison is a no-brainer because there aren't these capital equipment charges in the beginning that are off-putting to sort of for budgetary reasons. But for those who already have a pre-existing phone system infrastructure, my advice to you is just to start slow. Do what we did where you have an existing phone system that you're running side by side, and you're doing your same KPIs and measuring your feedback from the phone system, for whatever reason you use it for. You're measuring call quality and how often it's up and down. I think when we were, comparing ourselves versus 8x8, we had, a custom VoIP system, and we were using these custom WebSockets and, one of these WebRTC protocols that was open source. And, essentially we had all of this money that we had poured in to make this, customized phone system solution for us. And then we sort of realized that 8x8 existed, and we're like, okay, well, we're not going to just, drop what we have. We'll slowly add users, we'll measure consistency and call quality, and we'll let the customers and the cost of doing business dictate to which one we switch to. And in the end, it was a no-brainer. We just, enterprise, you could say, we switched to being an 8x8 customer. So.
And James, do you have the understanding of what's going on there with regards to, did you guys cut the cord, or do you have a blend going on?
I know we had some time where there was, a combination of the solutions, but we were so anxious to get into the new feature set that there wasn't a lot of delay, or once it was a green light, we ran screaming from what we had towards going to the future with 8x8.
Yeah, so that sounds like you cut the cord very clean. Yeah, absolutely. All right, brilliant. And Angela, how are we doing on the questions there?
We have some other kind of common questions where people are asking about really the management of the system. Some are asking, can 8x8 come in and help them put this together or set this up for them? Or, how much time does it really take to manage the system? And so just really quickly, yes, 8x8 can come in and help you get this configured. But William and James, can you just talk about, has that really been necessary? What is it like to manage the system? What do you use? How easy is it to do that?
William, I'm going to defer to you for the lead on this one.
Defer to me? Okay, no problem. All right. So it's easy. It's anything's easy for an IT professional. When you have a problem at your computer and you call the IT help desk and they come over and they figured it out in 3 minutes, and you see them sort of walking away with a little smirk, their lips turn up right, and that for them it was like as easy as pie, and for you it was frustrating as heck. And and I think for the IT professional that's going to set this up, they could probably do it Houdini style, underwater, upside down, in a straitjacket with shackles. And I think for your normal, 55-year-old secretary that doesn't know how to set up a TiVo, I think she could also do it with the same ease. I don't think bringing in 8x8 to set up a phone system is at all necessary. They're sending you a phone in a box. You're plugging that in with a network cable. You're hitting 5 numbers in sequence to set it up. You're logging it online, creating an extension that takes literally 15 seconds, naming who that extension is, and adding them to either a pre-existing ring group or setting up a ring group. But I can tell you that, and I say this with 100% accuracy, with peace and love. We did this once with 8x8 support to set up ring groups and all that kind of thing, to customize and teach us how to upload messaging on hold and voicemails and that type of thing, and we'd never used them again. It was definitely set it and forget it. And it's not that we left the phone system as is. We've customized it 1,000 times over, but it was just as easy as that. I mean, you really, anyone can do this, and I really do think the Houdini method, applies.
This is James at Bizmatics. I'm just going to dovetail into where William left off, and that's to say I don't personally manage the system, but I work with the support manager who does. And it's gone from any concerns about the system management all the way into what are we working on as far as the business goes. And that's the important thing to me, is that the phone system is no longer in our way of doing business. The phone system is just a conduit through which we conduct business. And if I want to gauge interactions with a customer, I'm doing it through a data-driven analysis that might involve the website. It might involve analytics coming back in through the phone system. And it never occurs to me as far as what I'm requesting of the support manager, because when I make a request to him to have a call rerouted or something like that, the next email I get back is that it's done. And it's not going through a third party and waiting 3 days for something to get done and then seeing that it's done incorrectly and then going back for another round trip. It's just a simple email to my support manager guy. It's like a boomerang. Done. So I'm going to guess that he has a pretty easy time with it.
Yeah, I think, I was just going to add one more thing.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, okay. So this is William with the Bank of Cardiff again. I share I share James's experience, though he's been with 8x8 for only a little while now. We've been with 8x8 for a long, long time, and so I think for people who want to know, sort of a user experience, I'm the director of a bank, but I'm fairly hands-on with all aspects that deal with the firm, phone system being a huge part of our success. And James made a brilliant point. He says, he doesn't want the phone system to get in the way of them doing business. And I think the phone for us is the only way we can do business. And I think he probably shares that same idea. And I think with the ability to grant users permissions in the system, it's an amazing experience, because you've got a user at a desk who, has the ability to log in to 8x8, and change certain permissions and change certain aspects of their phone experience. Then you've got somebody above them with more features, and then somebody above them with a more administrative, permissions type user access. And I think having that stratified sort of user permissions system makes it so that the IT professionals are still sticky, and that people aren't worried that their job is being outsourced to a robot, which I think a lot of IT people sometimes feel, or it's being outsourced to a company like 8x8. And I don't think our IT staff feels that way. I think when you stratify the user permissions, you still need someone to take a look at the phone system, to make changes, to monitor certain aspects. And I think it's just assigning different roles to IT staff, and giving them authority to visit problems and find solutions. And sometimes, our support does have to call 8x8, and I think the IT staff is relieved that they've got someone that they can lean on, because I'm guessing, and this is just a hunch, that behind closed doors, our IT staff is calling 8x8, figuring out an easy solution, and then coming over to your desk, taking a look at the system and going, oh, you just click this, right? And you never know that it's actually because of the 8x8 support that they were able to accomplish that feat. So they still walk away with that smirk on their face, but you still think they're geniuses.
So this is James again. I spend a lot of time on application design and browser-based application interfaces. And when I look over the support manager's shoulder at what he's looking at in terms of whether he's going through reports or configuration or real-time analysis of what's going on in the call center, I see an interface that is well designed. So in terms of the application itself and if it's able to be a productive interface for a support manager or anyone else who is not certified in PBX systems or more of an entry-level technology user, just my rapid assessment would be that the application's very well designed and very well built to allow people to do the things they need to do with a very minimal amount of complex training required.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with James. Just the whole interface, the web interface is just, it's elegant. It really is elegant. And it's definitely, when the programmers designed it, they could design it from an engineering standpoint, the front end that is, or they could design it with a user experience in mind. And it was designed with the user definitely in mind, and not necessarily an IT professional, but a layman. And I think that helps.
Absolutely. Well, I've noticed that we have come up past the top of the hour there, and I want to be conscious of everybody's time. Thank you, James. Thank you, William, for your interactive participation here on the webinar. And thank you, everybody who listened in and posed some questions to us. And thanks for your active participation here on the webinar today. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Emily, to wrap up.
All right, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. That was an awesome presentation. Lots of really great discussions and questions. I do want to remind everyone that if your question wasn't addressed live, 8x8 will be able to follow up with you. And if you had to step out or miss any part of today's presentation, you will be receiving an email in a few days with the link to view the webinar on demand. Special thanks to 8x8 for sponsoring today's event, and thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in today. We hope to see you back soon for another SpiceWorks Partner webinar. But until then, stay safe and keep it spicy.